Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the Sauce. Last game of the weekend, Chiefs at Bills. As far as Saturday's bets, the Packers 49ers game's at halftime. Can't tell you how I did in that one yet, but it's looking pretty good with Packers plus 10. They're playing them tough. Over is definitely cooked, so it's not going to be a sweep. Got off to a 2-0 start, though. I had Baltimore minus 9.5, and then I ended up going with Houston team total under, which hit at plus money, which was nice. So unless there's an explosive second half in this game, which I doubt, the over at 50.5 is probably dead. I'm just hanging on for Packers plus 10 and Packers money line. Anyway, Chiefs at Bills. Let's go.
Welcome to the Sauce. The Sauce. Sauce. Hey, get the sauce.
All right, like I said, Kansas City on the road at Buffalo. This should be a good one. Bills are laying 2.5 points at home, which is down from 3. Total sitting at 45.5. Data showing the action coming in pretty split on this one. This graphic starts at Tuesday, 9 a.m., so you can't see it, but this line was at 3 early on. Those Kansas City plus 3s got bought up pretty quickly. It's 2.5 across the board now, but most of the 2.5s are juiced towards Buffalo, indicating that it's more likely to move back to 3 than it is to drop down to 2. As far as the total, pretty much been sitting at 45.5 all week. On Tuesday morning, it was at 46.5, but it's been at 45.5 for several days now. This data is showing a bunch of sharp action coming in on the under on Saturday, but as I always say, take this data with a grain of salt. Let's talk injuries. Chiefs offense is completely good to go with the exception of Kadarius Toney. He's been ruled out of this one. Jerick McKinnon is also ruled out. He's not going to play, but I have Edwards-Helaire listed as the RB2 on this graphic. On the defensive side of the ball, the Chiefs did take a loss last week. Derek Notty's been ruled out at defensive tackle. He just got hurt last week in the Miami game. He's been active all season, so that's a new injury. Everyone's talking about all the injuries the Bills defense took last week. Kansas City's defense took a hit also. And Willie Gay is listed as questionable as well. He wasn't even on the injury report to start the week. He was added to the report on Friday with a neck injury. Not sure what the deal is with that, but he's also listed as questionable. Buffalo offensively is in pretty good shape. They're going to be missing Gabe Davis at wide receiver again. He missed last week's game against the Steelers. Other than that, though, they're pretty good to go. On the defensive side of the ball, all right, Bills defense. This is where it gets a little more confusing. So obviously, Matt Milano and Tre'Davious White are out. That's not new. They've been out for multiple months now. First, some good news. Dotson is back at linebacker, which is huge. He missed last game against the Steelers. So when all those injuries were going down for Buffalo, he was not even active for the game. So having him back is huge. He's been really good this year. Since Matt Milano got hurt, he's one of the guys that's really stepped up. After that, though, we got a bunch of question marks here. Terrell Bernard at linebacker, he's listed as questionable. Taron Johnson and Rasul Douglas in the secondary as well. Bernard has not practiced all week, so I'd say there's a good chance he's going to miss this one. That's the bad news. Taron Johnson and Douglas have been practicing all week. They're participating in light practice, so it looks like they have a good chance of playing. This would be huge because not shown on this graphic, Christian Benford and Taylor Rapp are both out. If you don't know who those guys are, those are two other defensive backs on the Bills roster that they would definitely need. They need them either way, but they would definitely need them if those two guys were out. So the fact that they're participating in light practice is huge. Hopefully they play it for the Bills. So let's match these two teams up on the field. We'll take a look at Mahomes' numbers last week against the Dolphins. Not great, but that game was crazy. It was like 40 degrees below zero. I'm exaggerating, but I think it was really like 10, 15 below. Not even kidding. So 262 yards, just 56% completion, 6.4 yards per attempt, 1 touchdown, no picks, and an 83.6 passer rating. Certainly not anything spectacular. Now, on the season, the Chiefs are still ranked 8th in passing DVOA. They're just 20th in yards per pass attempt and 19th in average passer rating, though. But the thing is, most of those ratings and positive numbers come from the first chunk of the season. As you can see here, through the first 7 games, the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, 3rd in EPA per dropback, 5th in success rate per dropback. Look at the last 9 games of the year, 22nd and 13th. So the passing game for the Chiefs really fell off. Now they're matched up against a Buffalo pass defense that's been on a heater here, man. I mean, when Milano and Tre'Davious White got hurt, there was a 5-game stretch where the Bills were looking like they might have the worst defense in the NFL. Right here, weeks 5 through 10, they were 32nd in EPA per play, 29th in EPA per dropback, 31st in success rate. They were allowing an average opponent passer rating of 106. It was looking bad. But look at week 11 on. Look at since then. 4th, 1st, 10th, an average opponent pass rating of 67.8. 5.9 yards per attempt. And in that span, they've seen Tua, Mahomes, Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts. I mean, they've seen some big names still putting up elite numbers. This Bills pass defense is on one right now. Included in that hot streak is a trip to Arrowhead, where they held Patrick Mahomes to just a 74.9 passer rating, 6.3 yards per attempt, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. And speaking of Patrick Mahomes, we got to bring up his numbers under pressure this year, because that's really been the biggest difference. I know everyone's talking about the drop passes from the receivers, and that's obviously a factor. I'm not saying that doesn't matter, but Mahomes has really struggled when pressured this year, which is so different than what we've seen from Mahomes the last few years. Amongst 33 qualified quarterbacks this season, Patrick Mahomes, when pressured, 18th in yards per attempt, 20th in completion percentage, 16th in passing touchdowns, 30th in interceptions, 26th in passer rating. In case you didn't know, probably the biggest strength of this Bills defense is the pass rush too. 9th in pressure rate, 10th in hit rate, 3rd in adjusted sack rate. And those Mahomes turnover numbers under pressure are huge here, because Buffalo forces the 3rd most turnovers per game and the 6th most interceptions in the NFL. In their last 8 games, the Bills have forced opposing quarterbacks into 11 interceptions. So there's going to be pressure on Mahomes in this game. If there was ever a spot where the Chiefs needed 2021, 2022 Patrick Mahomes to show up, it's this one. Now, what about the run game, though? Is Mahomes going to have run support in this one? And I think the answer to that might be yes. On the season, the Chiefs' rushing numbers are pretty average, 17th in DVOA, 19th in adjusted line yards, 11th in yards per carry as a team. They did a pretty good job last week running the ball against a good Miami Dolphins run defense, 34 carries, 147 yards, 4.3 yards per carry. Now, these numbers should probably come with an asterisk, though, because that Dolphins defense was so gutted. They were missing 3 out of their 4 starting linebackers, and their 5th linebacker, Van Ginkel, that would have started, he was out too. So the Dolphins were missing 4 of their top 5 linebackers, which obviously affects their ability to stop the run. But the thing is, as good as the Bills defense has been against the pass, and they've been elite, you can't say the same about their run defense. They've actually done the opposite. They started off the season pretty good. Look at the last 7 games. They're 25th in EPA per rush, 13th in success rate, 110 rush yards per game, 4.71 yards per carry allowed. In the 6 games before that, 10th, 6th, just 90.8 rush yards per game, 3.56 yards per carry. We just saw this Buffalo Bills defense play back-to-back must-win games, essentially back-to-back playoff games against the Dolphins and Steelers. They allowed a combined 4.98 yards per carry in those games. So the Bills have been struggling to stop the run. My opinion on this side of the ball, I think this is a bad spot for Patrick Mahomes. I think he's going to throw an interception. He hasn't been good against pressure. He hasn't been good against these kinds of defenses, but I do expect Isaiah Pacheco to be very efficient in the run game. So all hope is not lost for the Chiefs offense. The run game should be there. Now let's flip it over to the other side of the ball. And as we know, the Chiefs have been excellent against the pass all season. On the year, they're 5th in DVOA, 7th in opponent passer rating, 2nd in yards per pass attempt allowed. They completely shut down Tua Tagovailoa last week in the wild card game. I mean, that game was basically played in Siberia, though. The weather was crazy. But still, just 51% completions for Tua, 6.1 yards per attempt, 63.9 passer rating. I mean, that's a bad game. They played good defense there. But here's the thing with the Chiefs pass defense. They've got some home-away splits developing here. You can see at home, they're 4th in passer rating, 1st in sack rate, tied for 14th in interceptions per game, 2nd in completion percentage allowed. On the road, 14th, 12th, dead last in interceptions per game and 12th in completion percentage. Dead last, 32nd in interceptions per game on the road. So how does that match up against Josh Allen and the Bills passing attack? Well, the bad news for the Bills is Kansas City has a pass rush. They're 7th in pressure rate, 5th in hit rate, 1st in adjusted sack rate. And Josh Allen, just like Mahomes, he's having a down year as far as his numbers when pressured. Now, they're not as bad as Mahomes' numbers are, but still 13th in yards per attempt, 15th in completion percentage, 18th in turnover-worthy plays, 12th in passer rating. Those are solid, but that's not really what we expect from Josh Allen under pressure. He's been excellent in those kind of spots like in years past. The fact that the Chiefs never create interceptions on the road, or at least they haven't this year, is huge in this matchup, because that's the biggest difference between Josh Allen with a clean pocket and Josh Allen pressured. It's the turnover-worthy play percentage. So it's a fortunate matchup for Josh Allen in the sense that he's playing a secondary that doesn't pick the ball off much. Some more good news for Josh Allen. The Chiefs like to blitz a lot. They are 5th in the NFL in blitz rate, 33% of the Chiefs' defensive snaps. They're blitzing. That's as they always do under Spagnuolo. Josh Allen has great numbers against the blitz. He's carved up the blitz this year. When blitzed amongst 33 qualified quarterbacks, he's 10th, 4th, 2nd, 6th, 7th, 1st, and 10th. So top 10 in basically every metric. That being said, we do have to mention that Josh Allen did not have a great game when he went to Arrowhead earlier in the season. Just 233 yards, 5.5 yards per attempt, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, just a 68.8 passer rating. But that's just one game. We have a larger sample size than that. Historically, Josh Allen's been excellent against the Chiefs. Look at his numbers from the 3 previous starts before the last one earlier this year. 67% completions, over 324 yards per game, 10 touchdowns, no picks, and a 129.6 passer rating. And on the ground, he's averaging 53 rushing yards per game on 4.7 yards per carry. So yeah, Josh Allen wasn't great earlier in the season in Arrowhead, but we know that he plays well against this Chiefs team. Another positive angle for Josh Allen, Chiefs run a lot of man coverage. As we know, Josh Allen's been considerably better against man coverage. Against zone, he's 17th in passer rating, 16th in net yards per attempt, 15th in touchdown rate. Against man coverage this year, 10th, 5th, and 8th. So even if the Chiefs pass rush does scare you a little bit, you'd still have to say that this is a favorable matchup for Josh Allen. Now, what about the run game, though? Is Josh Allen going to have run support in this one? Now, let's give the Kansas City run defense some credit. They were good last week. They held the Miami Dolphins to 30 carries, 118 yards, just 3.9 yards per carry. As we know, Miami's been a top 5 rushing attack this whole year, so that's a huge performance. That being said, though, as a whole this season, the Chiefs' run defense has been really bad. It's been the weakness of their team. They're 27th in DVOA, 25th in adjusted line yards, and 23rd in yards per carry allowed. And James Cook really exploited that in their first matchup earlier this year. He had 10 carries for 58 yards. That's 5.8 yards per carry. He also had 5 catches and 83 yards through the air. That's 5.8 yards per carry and 16.6 yards per reception. And that game was at Arrowhead. Now they're back at home at Orchard Park, where James Cook's been really good. You'd see on the road just 4.1 yards per carry, 9.3 yards per reception. Both those numbers significantly higher at home. Now, one positive thing you have to give the Chiefs' run defense, though, yeah, they've really struggled to stop opposing backs, but actually they've done a good job with dual threat quarterbacks. In 5 games against Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Russell Wilson twice, and Justin Fields, they're allowing just 33.8 rushing yards per game on 3.75 yards per carry. So that is a positive for the Chiefs defense. They've done well with mobile quarterbacks. Situational stats on this side of the ball, I mean, I guess I'd give the slight edge to Buffalo's offense. They've been really good in key spots, 1st and 5th, but so is the Chiefs defense. They're 5th and 8th. Got an underdog pick 'em in this one. It's a 3 pick, so it pays out 6 times. Going with James Cook, higher than 84.5 rushing receiving yards. He cooked the Chiefs last time. I'm going back to him again. Rashee Rice, lower than 71.5 receiving yards, and Khalil Shakir, higher than 32.5 receiving yards. Like I said, this is a 3 pick, so it pays out 6 times if it hits. If you don't have an Underdog Fantasy account, it's available in any state highlighted in this map. So if you're in one of the states highlighted in yellow, head over to the website or download the app, Underdog Fantasy. When you make your account, make sure you use the promo code BET, B-E-T. That'll get you a $100 deposit bonus match. So if you deposit $100, they will give you a free $100 to play with. So as far as what I'm betting in this game, all right, so this is kind of a scary one for me because it feels strikingly similar to the Eagles-Bucks game last week. And if you remember in that video, at the end of it, it was my only loss last week. Eagles -3 was my only loss. And if you remember in that video, I said all the numbers point towards Tampa Bay +3 being a must bet. I was like, all the numbers are clear. Tampa Bay +3 is the move. But then I said, but I got a feeling the Eagles are going to show up and win. And whenever you say that stupid shit, that I got a feeling, it's usually not the smart play because it means you're most likely going against the numbers. You're going with the I got a feeling. So how is that applicable here? All the numbers point towards Bills -2.5 being a must bet. I mean, the way that these two teams have looked down the stretch, the Bills at home under a field goal, must bet. The Bills, I mean, they should be laying 4.5, 5, based on what we've seen in the second half of this year. But I got a feeling. I know, it's terrible. I could see Mahomes pulling this one out because he wins these types of games, man. He's got a great record as an underdog. I'm not doing it, though. I'm not going with the I got a feeling side this time. I'm sticking with the numbers, and I'm going with the Bills at -2.5. But I'm telling you, I got a feeling. I'm scared as hell. This is probably my least favorite bet of the last 4. Gotta follow the numbers because I made the mistake of not following the numbers on Monday night, and it robbed me of what would have been a 6-0 against the spread weekend. So I'm following the numbers here. Give me Bills -2.5. I'm also going to take the over 45.5. but I got a feeling. If you want my top bets for all sports, parlays of the day, or you want to join our Discord, head over to KyleKirms.com. The information's right there on the homepage. Let's finish out this divisional weekend strong. It's been a good one, been a lot of fun. Remember to bet responsibly, and I'll talk to you in the Discord.